The growing calls across the nation to defund the police.
To end policing as we know it.
Off the charts violence in New York City. 11 people shot in just 8 hours on
This is
Sunday.
about the police officers who every single day put on that uniform and they run towards danger when we run away from it.
Guns up! And giddy up, everybody. Welcome to Failure to Stop Podcast. Pride Mike on the line. We've got 13 beautiful days left in Pride Month. And this is the Failure to Stop Podcast. The number one show where law enforcement meets culture.
Oh, God. Give me my gay day. Give me my gay day.
Didn't go too loud today. I gotta wake up, man. I gotta wake up. But you guys have stumbled into the Failure to Stop Podcast, as I said. The number one show where law enforcement meets culture. This is our flagship Friday, baby. We are going to be breaking down a case that at first seems pretty straightforward. You know, if straightforward means a former cop decided to murder someone in cold blood in broad daylight, that would be straightforward. So that's what happens. And then we're going to sit in through pieces of the interrogation. I know that you guys really liked that when we did the Stephen McDaniel case, and we really analyzed the job that the cops did in the interrogation room. We're gonna spend some time seeing Grant Hardin, former chief of police, interrogated for a murder, and it ends with a twist. And we're not going to give that away, obviously, but it's gonna go in some twists and turns. I'm excited to share that story with you all today and get Tansy's input, especially on the interrogation piece. So that's what's coming. But in the meantime, we've got some housekeeping items to talk about. Today is a pretty big day for us, wouldn't you say, Eric?
Yes, I would. I wish this camera. Is there anything we can do to make my camera not look like I'm in underwater? No.
Yeah, you can move
internet
from Clayton where there's internet like normal people have.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll see you in Clayton next Friday.
Yeah, well, we're both going to look like that next Friday. We will both look like we are underwater. We're
supposed to have fiber now. Like the town has fiber, so we just got to get plugged into the fiber.
That's a good point you bring up, because if you guys are fans of the show and want to hang out with us live next Friday, I will be in studio in Clayton. We'll put the details somewhere, but if you want to come hang out with us live while we record the show, then hey, we'll be there next Friday. And I think we're going to try to do a little meetup hangout for the podcast next Friday night too, right? At the distillery.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a lot of fun.
We'll put those details out, but if you are in the area or want to be in the area, then we'll be hanging out with you guys live for the show and in person later on that night to have some good times and get to know each other. So yeah, we're excited about that, but that's not the biggest news. The real big news is that today you
should say today is our last show.
That's clickbait.
Now continue.
Technically,
Eric's getting really good with this YouTube title.
Yeah.
That's what we should have named it.
We should have named the episode our last episode. And then the real catch is because we as a show are going independent from today on. So that's like the big news. We've kind of alluded to it in the Discord and here and there, like, hey, we've got some big news coming. That's what she said. And so to bring you up to speed on that real quick, we don't want to dwell on this a long time. First of all, we are eternally grateful to Ross and Dan and everybody at the network, the Tetherball Network, for giving us a shot. They brought us together like two lonely ships in a night, and this podcast resulted. And so we wouldn't know each other. We wouldn't have this show. You guys wouldn't be a part of this. The Wolfpack wouldn't exist. None of that would have happened without Tetherball creating that opportunity for us in the first place. So we want to say thank you, and we're grateful that the opportunity existed for that. We signed originally a contract for a year to deliver like our 52 weekly episodes. Obviously, we went hog wild and did a bunch of shows. We added Night Shift. Then we added, I don't know what we added. We added Off the Cuff. Then we added Last Call. Then we added Disruptors. we've just gone way above and beyond to try to deliver the best possible show to you guys as possible. And that's right. If you're like, this is a weird show to tune into for the first time, but if you do, we've got 5 shows a week. Each episode is sort of like a different flavor, sometimes different hosts, and we hope you enjoy it. We're trying to deliver as much variety and value as we can. So that's what's happening. And then we had a year contract, and the long and short of it is the network didn't find renewing our contract to be, I guess, what would be in their best interest. And so here we are. We had a choice. Eric and I faced a fork in the road: end the whole thing, or take a dive and trust the Wolfpack and trust what we're doing and hope that we don't completely fail on our own. And so you're going to get Mike and Eric and the producers and BC and Ski and freaking Dave. The whole crew is committed to keep delivering the shows to you and to keep going. But we're literally sailing off into the unknown. We have no real support system other than ourselves and the Wolfpack. It's just us, baby. So
we're literally failing to stop.
We can't stop. We won't stop. So anyway, Rip Pack's coming with us. Rip Pack's in the house. The Wolfpack is supportive of the whole thing. So yeah. So guys, get ready. Pour some Rip Packs in them buttholes. Lay on your ghost bed, turn on the TV. Here we go. We're ready to roll.
What did you just say? I'm sorry. What did you just say about your
butthole? Pour some Rip Packs in your buttholes. It's one of the 2
I don't know where
acceptable
he came up
uses.
with it.
You don't remember that, Jimmy?
We all remember it. I'm just trying to forget it. So thank you guys for bringing it back up.
I blocked it from my memory.
Trauma. Anyway, you got anything to add to that, Tansy, before we keep going?
No, but in all honesty, I use Rip Pack every single day. Like after I drink my coffee, I put the Rip Pack down the mouth, I swish it around, I spit it out, and it's a lifesaver for me. And there's a Boy Scout troop in town that's they're doing a big order of Rip Pack. They're taking it on their next Boy Scout troop. So good for them.
Nice.
Good for them. Good for
I
us.
like it. That's way easier than trying to get junior high kids to brush their teeth. You just tell them to, hey, just put this in your mouth and swish it around. That's what she said. So yeah, cool. That's done. And we're moving on. The Wolfpack is moving on. The pack is migrating. I don't know where we're on the hunt. The pack is on the hunt.
maybe to greener pastures. I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll find out.
Maybe to fresh kills. I don't know what's going on.
Who knows?
Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for following. Thank you for leaving that rating, that review on Apple Podcast or Spotify, wherever you listen. Thank you for supporting the show, following us on social media, Failure to Stop, wherever your socials are, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. There's 121 people watching live. We go live every Friday at 11 a.m., Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. for night shift. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe. If you want to support the show, failuretostop.com for merch, and you can also become a member on our YouTube channel, and that gives you Discord perks and a few other perks about live streams of the other recordings, all that kind of stuff. Supporting our sponsors. We still love Ghostbed. They're still sponsoring our show through the end of June. So we're still sort of like we're in this transition phase. So we're still, you'll still hear from Ghostbed from us, and we really hope that they continue with us. We love Ghostbed. It's going to be up to them, and you guys love Ghostbed. We have nothing negative to say about anybody in this. We're just doing our thing, man. So.
Yeah, it was a shock. It was like one of those things that we didn't see it coming, but we've had some time to think about it. We've had some time to talk about it, and the more we've talked about it, the more excited I am to be kind of going independent. And already, like it's been wild because we have so many people reaching out to us to bring us on to other networks or to help us independently. So I know it's going to be fine. I know it's going to be okay. But it was a blow. It was a blow for the summer. Didn't see it coming. But you know what? When you fail to stop, you just got to keep going. So.
Dead Life Media says it's like a divorce and we're figuring out who gets the kids. Now, so somebody already say it would be only if like me and Eric split up into individual podcasts, and then it would be like 2 Christmases, like you'd have to we each start a podcast.
But when Mike said he's still all in, I was like, oh, you're going to do this? Because you realize that now we're not getting paid to do this, right? And he was like, that's fine. I'm good. We'll make it. And I was like, okay, well, I'm in. Of course I'm in. And he's like, all right, let's go. Let's keep going. And I was like, okay, let's keep going. So here we are.
Yeah, we're broke, but we're rocking. We're going to rock and roll, man. We'll figure it out. This operation is not. If we put this operation into numbers on paper, it would not be so good. But paper be damned. The Wolfpack needs us. We're here. We're gonna roll forward. All right. Speaking of the Wolfpack, let's give thanks to the reviews. What do we got this week? Go ahead, Tansy. Do you want to read those?
Soup Sandwich Podcast, 5 stars by Jay Smoothie Smooth. This podcast is true definition of a soup sandwich. It's complete mess, but tastes so good. These two dysfunctional weirdos keep me entertained long enough to listen to every episode. These two dried up has-beens occasionally provide good information and relevant input. Thank you for your introduction and discount to Cardomax. That's all you guys are pretty much good for. Let's go, Brandon. Keep up the good work, you sissy boys.
Will do. And again, another sponsor brought right into the reviews. I love it. Ollie 9FL12 says 5 stars. Phew. What can I say? Transy makes me question my heterosexuality, and Mike sounds way too much like Bill O'Reilly. Wow, interesting. These guys blow. Just kidding. They're awesome. Keep up the good work.
So I'm guessing Allie 9 is a girl, and I make her question her heterosexuality. Does that mean she's gonna go gay? Because
trans man.
She wants a trans man.
Gay trans man.
It's a lot to keep up with these days. That's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of abbreviations that you got to know, my man.
Did you see Biden mess it up the other day? He was like LBGTQ.
Well, anyway,
we're. It's like, don't worry, Joe. It's a lot for all of us.
It's okay. We can even forgive you for that one.
Yeah,
Joe,
it's a lot for all of us.
Last one. D-Mall 5 stars. Best podcast ever. Freaking amazing podcast. Hilarious and informative. Keep up the outstanding work. That was straight to the point and appreciated. All right. Any other housekeeping items? Am I forgetting anything, Wolfpack?
I have I got mail call real quick. I'll make it very fast. This is from Heather Redden, 6134 South Fortune Way, Yuma, Arizona. You're supposed to read the address, correct? Yeah, cool. Department of Public Safety, Arizona patch for the patch wall.
Great.
Very cool.
Looks like a bag of Skittles with your camera quality.
This is a police Yuma, Arizona patch. Love the colors, little purple and teal there. Oh, a baby blanket.
Is that underwear?
For baby Sunday.
Is that really large underwear?
It's like a handmade blanket for the baby.
Looks like underwear for a plus size model.
Oh, there's a card. I'll read it really quickly so we can get to this breakdown. It says, thank you. Oh my gosh. Thank you for the visit at your studio and the distillery. The rum is great. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy day to sit and talk with me and my dad. I've enclosed 2 Arizona patches and the Arizona Federal FOP badge coin. The blanket is for Sunday. I croqueted it for fun. Guns up, giddy up, Heather. Thank you, Heather. That was very sweet of you. Very, very cool.
I dig it. Good job. Cool. Good job, Wolfpack. We appreciate you guys. I know that what we do at the beginning of our show may be a little bit unusual for podcasts. We read your reviews, and it may seem like, why do these guys just read their own reviews? And really, because you guys took the time. It's not easy to get reviews for shows. Like a lot of podcasters talk about how difficult it is to get ratings and reviews. And y'all have done over 1,500 on Apple alone, plus probably close to 1,000 on Spotify. So, I mean, we appreciate it, and we want to acknowledge you by username and what you said, because we really appreciate it. So
we do. I've had like 3 podcasts ask me, how do we get reviews like that? Because we're beating podcasts that have been podcasts for like 2 years that have higher numbers than we do, but they don't have as many reviews as we do.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because we read them out loud.
Because the Wolfpack
start reading people's reviews
is where it's at, baby. We appreciate y'all. All right. Who is ready to hear this insane police story, to criticize or learn from an interrogation and some true crime twists and turns? You ready?
I'm ready, baby. I'm ready.
He's nodding his head. There's no verbal acknowledgement.
I'm ready.
You ready, Jimmy?
I'm ready to go.
I don't know what that was.
All right. This story is about a former cop, and he's got quite an employment history that we can talk about that. But his name is Grant Hardin, and he started his police career back in 1990. If we can show his uniform picture, you'll see it definitely looks like a very
handsome guy.
1990s photo. But yeah, he begins his police career in 1990 from August 6th of 1990 to May 22nd of 1991. He started his first gig at the Fayetteville Police Department in Arkansas. He doesn't make it through his first full year because he is terminated. And in his termination letter, Chief Richard Watson says that he, quote, fell short of the average probationary officer, and also, quote, his tendency to not accept constructive criticism along with indecisiveness under stressful conditions. So it doesn't sound like Grant was really well liked when he was a rookie. So the way it works, guys, is you usually get hired. Then there's a field training period. And then there is even after your off-field training and you sort of like go on your own, there's a probationary period for cops in which basically you're an at-will employee. It's mostly a year. Was that what it was for Raleigh, or is it longer? Because there's some departments that I know are longer.
So you have the academy, which is forever long. I think it's like maybe like 6 months. And then you go through 9 weeks of basic field training. Then you go to 9 more weeks in a different part of the city for more field training. So that's 18 more weeks. Plus, then you come back for a 2-week evaluation, and then you're on probation for a year after that with no patch.
Yeah. Gotcha. So it's pretty common. So he doesn't make it through his probationary period. This is the process of sort of like weeding out people who shouldn't be cops, or so you would think. Now, Hardin claimed that he was fired, and I think this is kind of how he parlays this termination from his first department into the next one, which is Huntsville. And he's hired in Huntsville because he had claimed that he was fired from Fayetteville because he discovered and uncovered corrupt officers he said were confiscating drugs, alcohol, and paraphernalia for personal use. His quote when he was trying to get the next job was, "I would not bend the law just to keep my job. So in the end, I lost my job." So this is sort of like how he pitches himself and somehow ends up in Huntsville in 1991. And he resigns. He's there from November of 1991 to June of 1992. So he makes it a whopping like 7.5, 8 months. And he resigns in June of 1992, saying in an employment application for the city of Eureka Springs, the next department he goes to, is that he was expected to treat people unfairly and he didn't like the culture of the department. So he leaves Huntsville and goes to this other city called Eureka Springs. But Eureka Springs was only a part-time gig. So he ends up he's a part-time cop in Eureka Springs, and then he works as a cleanup crew at some manufacturing plant. He's a bellhop at the Basin Park Hotel in Eureka Springs. And then he leaves those civilian jobs, as it were, the non-police jobs, over quote unquote personal differences with upper management. Are you detecting a trend here yet in his employment history? So that's him, but he gets hired full-time in May of 1994. So we're going on about 4 years and 3 states, or I'm sorry, 3 departments. I saw a comment about the states. Yes, I believe these are all in the same state of Arkansas. So he goes full-time in May of 1994 at Eureka Springs. But in this time, he's receiving reprimands. In March of 1993, he gets a reprimand for failing to appear for a subpoenaed court appearance, which I did that too. I woke up sometimes after midnights on a subpoena, and I call in a panic to the court like, "Hey, I overslept. I'm on my way." They'd be like, "Oh, they just did it without you. They figured it out." Or, "Yep, we're still in the queue, so get down here as soon as you can." I never got in trouble over it, but I definitely missed my appointed court times before.
Yeah,
so
I think we all have.
that in and of itself isn't a big deal. But he was taken off patrol for a month in September of 93 for driving a patrol car the wrong way down a one-way street and having a citizen complain on him. I don't know. In April of 1995, he is in trouble for forgetting a police department mandatory meeting. And then he was issued another reprimand in September of 1995 for overly aggressively pepper spraying a man on a traffic stop. And then in 1996,
this is the 90s. How do you overly aggressively pepper spray somebody in the 90s? Pretty sure that that was the wild, wild west. You just kind of.
It was. And so that means to me, he was like license registration. And oh, by the way, he just starts dousing the dude.
Like, just like gets the whole can, like shakes
no
it
reason.
at the end.
He just did it for funsies. That's
Goodness gracious.
In October of 96, Hardin was accused of falsifying information in a police report, and he resigns in lieu of termination. And that was the end of his initial police career. So this goes on for like 6 years, 3 different departments, multiple reasons for being fired or quitting or resigning, reprimands, falsifying police reports. The guy is not a super stand-up cop. It doesn't
sounds like a train wreck. I always question when somebody brings up complaints on a cop. I always question that at first, because a good cop will have a lot of complaints, because if you're doing the Lord's work and you're putting bad people in jail, bad people are going to lie about you and bad people are going to say shit about you. If you go your whole career and you don't have any criminal complaints, it's probably because you're locking up good citizens, right? Like if you're arresting bad people, that's when things go sideways. When you arrest normal people, they don't complain on you, unless you've done something crazy or audacious. They just kind of want to get arrested, get processed, get bailed out, go to court with no drama. But when you arrest somebody that's perpetually going through the process, they want to make that process as difficult as possible, and they complain on you and yada, yada. But this sounds like the kind of complaints you don't want to get. Not showing up to court.
Correct.
Not going to mandatory meetings. Like, those are the ones that you avoid at all
lying
costs.
on your police reports.
Yeah, exactly. Those are the ones that, the other ones are coming. So you try to mitigate all the ones that are unnecessary. This guy's not doing that.
Exactly. So he goes onto the private sector. He has a variety of private sector jobs. I'm not even going to go into it, but he does serve 2 separate terms in Benton County as a constable, which is a law enforcement position, but is unpaid. It's like a volunteer thing to cover, because the county's sparsely populated. They don't need to pay someone to do the constable work there, but he is elected and runs the constable department from 2009 to 2010, and then again in another term in 2013 and 2014. Unpaid position. They didn't even reimburse expenses. So he is quoted as saying, "I still have to work full time, but I wanted to help my community. I thought I could get out and use the things I learned as a police officer." So that's what he was quoted as. Well, why do you want to be a constable? So more like to play cop still, I guess. So then, like, all this time passes, and somehow he becomes chief of police in Gateway, in Benton County, Gateway. And he is the chief of police for 4 months in 2016. During that 4 months, he has multiple run-ins with a city employee named James Appleton. Apparently, Appleton was not a fan of Hardin, like most of anybody else that's ever worked with him, it seems. And constantly, Hardin would say that he was constantly trying to tell him how to do his job, and he ultimately resigns. Hardin resigns after 4 months, saying he needed to focus on family and education. And he goes back to school and gets his associate's degree in criminal justice from Northwest Arkansas Community College. Arkansas, you can't make this stuff up, man. Arkansas and Alabama are like, they should be their own country together. I don't know what's going on down there. But Gateway is where the problems begin for him, for real. And so after he gets his criminal justice degree, he gets a job in corrections at the Northwest Arkansas Community Correction Center in Fayetteville. And that's where he's working as it's a prison for women incarcerated for non-violent and non-sex related crimes. and he works as a corrections officer there. So he's still sort of like in the law enforcement space.
I'm trying to figure out how does he make chief and he doesn't even have an AA degree and less than 4 years of experience.
Because it's Arkansas.
Okay. All right.
I don't know.
I'll give you that.
So that's the only explanation that I have. And so, yeah, there you go. I have met some people from some departments in and around Little Rock that were solid. But the rest of the state, it just seems to be a free for all. I don't know what's going on down there. We'll see. So that leads us up to February 23rd, 2017. James Appleton, that city worker that we referenced from Gateway, he's driving in his truck and he gets a phone call from his brother-in-law. So he pulls his car off the side of the road to have the conversation. Instead of driving and talking on his cell phone, he pulls over to have this conversation. While he's pulled over, Grant Hardin pulls up in his white Malibu, pulls behind the car, and obviously James sees this. Then the Malibu pulls up next to the truck, and another car is coming up behind them. This is going to be our witness, and the witness pulls up behind the Malibu, and Grant, former chief of police, pulls his hand out the window like we would expect and just waves him on, right? Like we've all been there. Like
go around.
Somebody's talking in the middle of the road. And it's like, hey, I'm going to be here. So just go around. So this car creeps past and he looks inside the Malibu and sees, like, this is a small community. He looks and sees Grant Hardin in the car driving the Malibu and sees James Appleton in the driver's seat of his truck. He knows these guys by face and name. Like, oh, that's Grant and that's James. Okay, hey, what's up? And he just passes him up and keeps driving. Well, all of a sudden, he hears a loud pop or a boom and looks back and just sees the Malibu screeching up behind him and then cutting off onto a dirt road. So he's like, what the heck? So the witness, who I don't have the name of, I don't know if it's available on the internet. I couldn't find it, but he flips around and he's like, I wonder what happened back there. Goes back to find James Appleton shot in the face, dead and slumped over in his truck. And he's like, well, I mean, he saw the whole thing. I mean, minus seeing the actual finger pulled the trigger.
Right.
Like, he saw this in his rearview mirror. Like, he heard the gun pop and looks up and sees Grant driving away. Like, he knows it's him. He saw it. And now James, and no one else was around, is dead. So he calls 911. Obviously, the police get involved. And smartly, they set up like a grid of a roadblock around Grant's house. So in other words, all of the ways in for Grant to get home would be blocked off. So meanwhile, Grant skedaddles on down the dirt road, goes home. His wife, the last she knew, Grant had gone outside to feed the chickens and plant grass seed. He walks back in the house. He's like, I'm done in the yard. Hey, everybody, get ready and go to dinner. So he had met his wife, Linda, back in 1995. They started dating. She had a thing for men in uniform. They end up getting married like a year later. So they're married when he's a cop. And so she has a 16-year-old daughter with him. And he tells his wife and daughter, hey, you know what? Let's go out to eat tonight. I got to work midnights. Yard work's done. Let's go out to eat, get a steak dinner. So they get ready and they go out for a steak dinner. Now, later on, we're going to find out that Linda said he was definitely acting weird. Something was going on. And all he would say to her is, just know that I love you and God will take care of you. That he didn't admit to anything. He didn't say what had happened. He's just acting goofy while they all get their steak. And he says, just know that I love you and God will take care of you.
Well, this is very strange. So do we know why the other guy pulled his car over to talk on the phone? Because I feel like, how do you know if you're going to commit a murder? How do you know the guy's going to pull over when you come on the phone? Does the guy always pull over to talk on the phone?
Or
does he tell him, hey man, pull over real quick?
His brother-in-law says while he's on the phone, he's like, oh, hey, some car just pulled up behind me. That's what we know. He doesn't, on the phone call, James doesn't identify Grant on the phone call. Doesn't say, oh, okay, I know that car. That's Grant's car. Or what's Grant doing here? He's not connected on that phone call in any way. And to this day,
That's very strange.
no motive has ever been given by Grant as to why he murdered James. Nothing.
Huh.
So we don't know, but I think that's a really good question, right? What are the chances that Grant is just going to leave his yard and know that James is going to be pulled over there? Is there something going on? Were these guys connected since the time from 2016 to 2017? Had they been connected? Had he called him up? Had he decided to give him a call? But James's brother-in-law, and who happens to also be a co-worker for the city of Gateway, there's no indication that this was a plot or a plan that he was aware of.
I wonder if there's some kind of like threats going back and forth. Like, I wonder if this guy threatened him and was like,
or did James happen to drive by? Because this had to be it was very, very close to Grant's home, because his wife was at home and thought he was outside doing yard work. So, I mean, for him to get in his car, to leave and to come back, and his wife and daughter to not even know that he was gone, means that it was very close to the house. So did James drive by and he's like, today's the day, asshole.
No, James drives by, gives him the middle finger. He's like, oh, okay, I got you.
Could be.
Jumps in the car, chases him down, and the brother's not telling the truth on the phone call. And he'd be like, oh, he wants to talk, and then they have a little verbal dispute, and then he shoots him in the face. Yeah. But it just seems very odd. Continue. Very odd.
So they hit the road. They leave dinner. They're headed home, and sure enough, they hit the roadblock. And you know how like the cops direct traffic, and it's like, is the road closed? Like, no, it's not closed. But I just live right there. Everybody's like, but I'm an exception to the rule. The road can't be closed for me because I need to go through this road. And that's basically what Grant did. I'm sorry. Like, hey, I just live right over there. And they're like, what's your name? And he's like, Grant Hardin. They're like, oh, well, perfect. We need you to step out of the car. And he's like, okay. And Linda and the daughter are left to, like, they end up driving to the police station to get interviewed as well. They're like, hey, can you follow us to the police station? He's a suspect in a crime. And they take him to the PD and Benton County. And then from there, they're going to interview all three people, the wife, the daughter, and they're basically trying to establish a timeline. And then they put Grant in the hot seat and go through this interrogation process. So we've got multiple clips here that we need to go through in the interrogation room. And this is where your experience in interrogation and techniques can come in. What is going to really emerge here, I think, and frame a lot of our conversation is the fact I'm curious when this interview should have stopped, because he invokes his right. And I have some thoughts on this, but I'm curious of yours. And our first clip here is about 4 minutes long. And this is the beginning of reading the rights. And I want to frame this in. And I think there's a lot to learn here about this interrogation. For those that are listening and those that are watching, I think we'll find a good discussion here. So let's get going.
I'm Detective Chamberlain. I know we haven't met. James Chamberlain.
Okay.
I know. Did you used to be a police officer somewhere? Or I recognized you, but I wasn't 100% sure where I knew you from. But somebody said that you used to be a police officer in Gateway or something like that. Okay.
Like a constable. And
you were a constable here too. For Benton County?
Yeah.
For Benton County. Okay, that's what I was thinking. How long did you do that?
2 years. Well, I was elected one term, 2 different terms, but not together.
Not together, so on two separate occasions. Okay.
When they return.
Oh, you can stop that. Yeah. Yeah, please.
Your statement of rights for us. And before we ask any questions,
I missed
my
that.
duty to advise you of your rights. You have the right to remain silent. Do you understand that? I need to affirm it, yes or no. Okay. Okay. Anything you say can be used against you in court or other proceedings. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. You have the right to consult an attorney before making any statements or answering any questions, and you may have him or her present with you during questioning. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. You may have an attorney appointed to you by the court to represent you if you cannot afford one or otherwise obtain one at no cost. You understand that?
Yes.
If you decide to answer questions now without a lawyer, you still have the right to stop answering questions at any time or stop questioning for the purposes of consulting a lawyer. You understand that?
Yes.
Okay. However, you may waive your right to you may waive your right to advice and counsel and your right to remain silent. You may answer questions or make statements without consulting a lawyer if you so desire. You understand that?
Yes.
Okay. All I did was read this to you. I put that you said yes to all of it. If I can get you to sign, if I can get you to sign there by where I put that X by signed, right here. Sorry, I know there's too many X's on my page. That's my bad. That's a different spot than where you can print your name, and I'll sign the other side over there.
So he's just looking it over, reading over the paper. He signs it away.
February 23rd. And it is 9:17 p.m. 27.
Tyler Durden asked, what did he sign? He just signed that he had been read his rights.
Are you guys more upset about the murder or the shirt that he's wearing?
I don't like the shoes necessarily.
Here's
Either.
the thing. I want to talk to you about what you've done today, okay? Can you just take me through when you woke up this morning to when you got stopped by the police out there in what's the name of that road that you were on? I'm sorry, I'm going wrong. Gant Ridge?
I'm not going to say anything after I've been.
Oh, that was really good. That was very
Pause
clever.
it. Go ahead. Yeah, you
Very
can
clever.
pause when you want. So yeah,
Very clever.
let's talk up to this point. I want to finish each clip, but yeah, this is where it starts to like, okay, first of all, what do you think about the walk-in and the setup for the rights and everything else? Pretty standard, right?
Yeah, pretty standard. Listen, I'm not going to sharpshoot this detective, and I'm sure he doesn't have a lot of experience with crime. I mean, how big is this town? That's probably
Somebody said there's 229 people in Gateway. So Benton County as a whole, I don't even know how big, how many residents does Benton County have in general?
I don't know, but the detective, I'm pretty impressed with him so far. I mean, I've seen a lot worse detectives out there, people that are, questioning somebody is not very easy, especially when you don't do it every day of your life.
Yeah.
It's not easy to sit down with a different person every day and interview them without it being awkward, trying to play the whole psychology of the thing. So, I don't know that I would cross my legs right off the bat.
You said this is in Gateway, Arkansas?
Well, that's where he was chief.
Benton County has in 2015, which was around this time, I think, 250,000 people
in the whole county.
Yeah,
these guys are a sheriff department
Right,
here. It's Benton County that's doing the interrogation. Okay. Now, I noticed a couple things about this detective. First of all, he's got really dry mouth. He's nervous.
Sure.
He kind of catches his breath a couple of times.
It's a murder case, and if you're not used to trying murder cases, there's a lot that there's a lot of weight on your shoulders.
Yeah. So this is all pretty standard. You do sign when you've been read your rights. It's obviously being recorded. So when anytime I was a part of this type of thing, you would go into the room, you would say, hey, listen, this room is audio and video recorded. I'm going to read you your rights. And again, he even says, he nods his head, do you understand? Yes. He's like, no, I need verbal acknowledgement. I need you to say yes if you agree or you understand this. And then they can read it and then they sign it. That there's no doubt that he has been explained what rights he has in this case. And again, for those of you that don't know, I think we've probably talked about it before. Miranda only applies in the movies. They read it to you when they put the handcuffs on, you have the right to remain silent. That rarely happens. That is when you're in custody and being questioned or interrogated about the crime. So that's the only time Miranda applies. It almost always only happens with the detectives like this. It's not like the beat cops are typically reading people their rights.
Now, if I arrest somebody on a pretty good, decent crime, felony or above, I will typically read their rights on camera in my cop car. And then I will tell them that they're on camera, because a lot of times you're going to have a long drive to the detective station. I mean, the detective station could be anywhere between 20 and 25 minutes away, depending on traffic, sometimes longer. And when there's awkward silences in the car, they'll talk.
Yep.
And if you want that to be used in evidence and you don't want it to get retarded in court, you know, you can always just say, well, hey, I even read this guy his Miranda rights, like on scene, like in front of my camera before you even got in this car. So this dude, you can't use it. He didn't know that he was being recorded. It's all here. It's very transparent. So
yeah, you like that question though, right? He goes
I love
right.
That question.
What do you like about it?
You know, it would have put him on that road, and it's basically a confession that he was on a road he was driving. And so when you're going, and this is very textbook, the initial part. Let's walk through what you did today. That's always the first thing that we're going to talk about in an interrogation, an investigation like this, is because we're going to detail what you were doing between each hour of the day, and then we can go and find discrepancies later as we're walking through other aspects of the case. But so that is expected, right? Like you're taught that in the academy. Everybody knows that. But he goes, wait a minute. So you were on which road were you on? Which was great. But obviously this guy didn't fall for it. But a layperson would have fallen for it. They'd been like, Greenbrier Road? Yeah, I was on Greenbrier Road earlier. Oh, okay.
Oh, really? Yeah. I want to establish a timeline. All right, let's keep going with this first clip.
I don't know what's going on. I am kind of sickly to what I'm here for and things.
Okay. So you don't want to explain what you've done today? Did you? Is there a reason behind that?
You read me my rights, and I don't know why. And so, what was the first thing said? I have the right to remain silent.
Okay. So you're telling me that you don't want to talk to me right now?
I'm going to remain silent.
Okay, cool. Hang tight right here for just a few minutes, okay?
Now I'm curious for you, Tansy. At that point, is it over or no? If
it doesn't have to be over, but I'm going to make it over just to err on the side of caution. It's a murder case. Last thing you want is the jury to get hung up on something like that's a schematic that a lawyer's going to bring up. Oh, he said he didn't want to talk to you. No, he said he was going to stay silent. He didn't lawyer up. He didn't say, I don't want to do this anymore. But is that an argument worth having in front of a jury? Or could you say like, look, I went beyond. He said he didn't want to talk. I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like this is part of the case. I mean, it's good that they had him sort of like dead to rights, so that it's not a big deal where this goes, and we'll see. So let's
also, I think that if you allow time to kind of work on that detective gets up, he leaves, gives that 45 minutes, 30 minutes. He comes back. Homeboy might be so bored, doesn't want to be left alone again for 45 minutes. He might just start talking about something else.
Yeah. So it was hard. I couldn't quite figure out the timeline, but from what I can gather, he went to dinner early evening and he's picked up on the way home. And this interrogation will not end until 2:50 a.m. So he's there quite a while. So we're only going to see pieces. The actual length of time that he was interrogated or questioned is about an hour and 40 some minutes, but that doesn't include the times that they got up and they walked out of the room.
And the reason why they're getting up,
let
and
him go to the
walking out of
bathroom, they get him water, all that.
Now, the reason for that, for the folks out there listening, say, well, why do the cops do that? Why do they get up? Well, because it's buying them time to find more evidence, to find more clues. Remember, you got cops canvassing. They're getting more up-to-date information. So you don't want to interview somebody for too long because you might already have a piece of information that's waiting for you out in the hallway that's going to really help put the pieces of the pie together. So I think they're just buying themselves some time with leaving the room like that. I mean, it's pretty common practice, actually.
Right.
And then also when you leave the room, you can pick up indicators of defeat. So if he slumps his head forward over his shoulders, if he drops his shoulders in defeat, you can kind of pick up kind of what mood they're in, and
watch his behavior, his mannerisms while you're not in the room, for sure.
Right.
So, all right, next one.
By the way, I'm Detective Cordier. I think we've met once before.
Probably so.
Yeah, I think so. Back when I was on patrol.
Okay, I talked to my boss. Maybe I think I was confused, or I may have confused you on what's going on here. I can't tell you exactly why you're here, and you being a police officer, you understand that. I need to rule you out as a suspect in a crime that's been committed, and that's why we got you here, is because we need to talk to you, find out where you're at. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know if I scared you at the beginning or what, but that's why I was trying to, and I can't. You see the position that I'm in. I can't tell you why you're here, but at the same time, I need to rule you out into something. Does that make sense?
So what do you? Oh, you're there. You were frozen on the screen,
Yeah.
so I was like, "Uh-oh, Tansy's gone." What do you think about his reapproach coming back into this?
It's fine. Think it's kind of where he needed to go. I mean, it's a good strategy. Went back, thought about it. I don't, I'm sure him and is that female detective too?
Yes. Yep.
So I'm sure they talked about it. They're like, what do you want to do now? I'm like, well, we need to kind of come up with a reason why why he's here. That's what he wants to know. Well, let's just tell him, well, there was a crime. It's been committed. We need to rule you out. We need to figure out where you were and revisit that first question. Give us a timeline of events of where you were at today. I would have just stuck with that anyway.
Was stuck with what?
Tell us where you were at during the day. So when he asked that one question about the road, that's when that dude shuts down.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have just gone right back to, well, hey, listen, don't worry about that. Let's see. Let's start off this morning. What time did you wake up this morning? And I would have started that point.
Yeah.
He seemed like he was ready to talk about that timeline.
Yeah. That's interesting that you bring that up, because I think we're going to see some of that here. I'm waiting for the UPP to pull this next clip up.
It was a good move. It was a good try. But once that try didn't work, he should have nipped it in the butt real quick and be like, okay, well, don't worry about that. I don't need to know what road that was. It's not really that important. What time did you wake up today? Boom. Like in that. But
all right, let's keep going.
Be disproven.
I mean, or would you be willing to talk to me about your day, knowing that I need to rule you out of something, or like I'm at a loss here, and I need to clear you from something. And if you didn't do anything wrong today, you have nothing to worry about. And that's kind of where we're at.
Well, yes, I would have liked to, but before the rights were read. So not knowing what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, and you understand as a detective, we read those rights to everybody who comes in here. It's not just you, but when we interview, kids, and it's everybody. Once you come into our facility, we that's something we have to do. It's not something. It's not just something we're doing for you. It happens to everybody that walks through this room and talks to us. Because I mean, it's just like anything else that we do. We have to cover all of our bases. And that's what we did by reading you those rights. So we need to know. I mean, does that make sense? Like I know you've been a police officer for a while now, so you understand, how everything works. Mm-hmm. And so I've got to rule you out as a suspect. And if I can't do that, then we're at a standstill. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what happened today? Can you walk me through your day about what happened today?
I have to remain silent.
Okay.
On that.
Okay. So you're telling me you did do something today that was wrong, man. Is that what
he's like, nice try.
Okay. So you just don't want to talk to me because what reason?
I don't understand what they snatched me up out there and nobody told me anything. I don't understand.
Pause it for a second. Okay. I think in here we have
too much.
The detective is trying, and he's starting to get agitated. I don't know if that's like a real agitation or if he's trying to push to see how that goes by kind of bringing up being an authoritative figure in the room and pushing a little bit. But the laugh that comes from Grant when he's like, "So you're saying you did do something today?" And he laughs like, "Yeah, oh, that's not going to happen." And
he's a narcissist for sure, dude. He knows he's in control. He's having fun. Like we've talked about it on another show. It's like once you give somebody a little bit of power, they just take it and run with it. I forget, was it McDaniels
Yeah.
case where he looked at the guy in the eye and then the detective looks down? Once something like that happens, I mean, it empowers the suspect, and then they own you from there on out. And you know, woulda, shoulda, could. I hate to Monday morning quarterback a guy like this, the detective. I mean, with it, you know, if you don't interview a lot of people, it's not something that comes naturally. It's like podcasting. Go back and listen to our first podcast. Terrible. It's terrible. We get better over time. But you know, he should have done less talking and more focused on that timeline. Hey man, I would have just came in there and said, "Hey, listen, what time did you wake up this morning?" And then he could be like, "What? What time did you wake up this morning, man? I'm trying to rule you out of a crime here. Let's go over this timeline really fast. What time did you wake up? You know, you want to lawyer up? And, you know, if the guy's not going to answer, just be honest with him. Like, let's go. You want to lawyer up? You want to get your lawyer in here? What do you want to do? You know, I don't know. But I mean, who knows? Maybe this guy's strategy works. Fuck, dude. Like I said, I've seen a lot worse.
And be told what's going on, and
he's trying to pause it real quick. Sorry, I'm interrupted. One thing I wanted to say was, now Grant is, in my mind, what he's doing right now is he's trying to figure out, what do the cops know? Before he says anything about his day, he wants to know. He's trying to get out of them now. When he says, "Oh, I don't know why I got snatched up out there on the street," you're going to have to give me something. You're going to have to tell me what's going on. I know you want to rule me out, but I'm going to be silent, but you got to tell me what's going on. Like, it's a little bit of a back and forth game here. He's definitely trying to feel out the detective to get information.
I guess my question is this: knowing what I just told you, okay, I guess if it was me and I was, you know, if I was in your position, I'd be like, "Hey, James, I did this. I was at," or Grant, "I did this. I was at, you know, here, and here."
Oh, he accidentally slipped up and said the victim's name.
Just be done with it. And that way you can get out of here. But at this point, like, I can't clear you from this because you could still potentially be a suspect. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know if I'm not explaining it right or what's going on here.
Fine. I just have to, once the rights have been read, I have to, it says I have the right to be silent.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
He's just making it so awkward for them.
You gotta have a little bit more confidence going into that room.
Say at this point.
Okay.
You realize that I'm trying to help you out here. I'm trying to get you out of here quicker, and you're just sitting here.
Well, am I free to go then?
No, you're not free to go.
Why?
Because I've got to get to the bottom of an investigation, a very serious criminal matter.
Okay.
Okay. And right now, you're a potential suspect in that. Does that make sense?
I don't understand why I'm a suspect. No.
Well, that's for me to know and for you to tell me why you're not a suspect.
This is your time to kind of help you.
Okay.
Tell me this.
Don't interrupt her, dude.
No, I'm not mad at you.
I'm going to exercise my right to be silent.
Okay. So just tell me this. I know you were a police officer before, right? You're a police officer in Gravit. I mean, not Gravit, but in Gateway. It's an easy.
I think at that point I'd get out.
I'm being silent.
Well, I can see that. Where do you live at?
Too late for that, bud.
We can do this all night. I mean, it doesn't bother me. You're going to be.
Yeah, 56. We got 10 more seconds, just in
Continue
case.
to be a suspect until I find out otherwise.
Okay.
I'll be back in a minute.
All right, cool. So he seems
if
to get.
This dude was super.
agitated.
If this guy was like this chief, why didn't he just lawyer up?
I'm not sure. I mean, in his mind, I think he feels like he's not sure how he got picked up, I mean, he should be connecting the dots, but again, look at his employment history. He's not exactly probably the sharpest tool in the shed, right? And I think he's trying to feel them out for what they do or don't know. Because if he can rely on his timeline that he wants to give them, then they might not have anything. They might suspect him, but at this point, they don't know. What he doesn't know is that they're also talking to his wife and daughter right now about their conversation at dinner. He also doesn't know that when they found or looked at his vehicle, they saw blood on the passenger side of his car from spattering back off of James when he shot him.
Jesus.
He doesn't know that they know that. He doesn't know that there's blood on his car. So I think he's feeling them out and trying to figure out what
I think you have enough evidence there for there's enough evidence already.
Yeah, it's just
interesting. Him, and he wants to invoke his rights to silence. I'd be like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, that's what I'm feeling like. If this was my PD, this interview is over.
It would have been over for me at this point. Like, I would have been, I would have ended it. Especially knowing what you have. You got a great witness. You got blood. You're already talking to the parents. I mean, the wife and daughter. Just be done with it. Don't push it.
We're curious.
Get out of there. But now it's personal. So
yeah.
Oh my God.
Thankfully, they had a door locked on the other side because my man's like, I think I'm ready to go home now. He's like, let's try this door. Let's see what happens when I go to this door. And they must have had
Doesn't he know that he's being recorded?
A double door. I don't think
he's looked at the camera. He's looked at the camera like 3 times.
If you just brazenly shot someone, I don't think you care. I feel like if you can get out of the room and get out, that's your only shot of freedom forever because you might be screwed. Then what do you care at that point? What's the harm in escaping at that point?
I mean, we've had people go up through the ceiling of our interview room. So,
all right. Yeah. So he doesn't get out. What happens there, I'll fill you in, is an officer happens to come by and hears him opening these doors and says, "Can I help you?" And he talks to him and ends up like, "I'll get the detective for you." And just casual conversation. And he's trying to get out of this next cop, which the clip was so long, I just left it out. But he's like trying to feel out this beat cop who's just walking in the hall. Like, so what's going on? I'm trying to help these guys here, but they won't tell me anything. So he's trying to feel out the beat cop, and the beat cop is smart. He's wise to the move. He's like, I don't know, man. Like, I think you can help him out. If you want to help him out, I'll go get him. Like, just kind of like brushes it all off. And then the detectives come back.
Yes, sir.
The other officer told me you want to talk to me again. What's going on?
I'm just ready to go.
Okay. And I'm not ready for you to go yet, so you're not going to be able to go. I've got other things that I'm doing right now. So, Did you need to talk to me, or did you what was the deal?
I was gonna go.
Oh no, you're not going to go.
Tell you that.
Okay. Yeah. No, you're not going to go.
But I wanted. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, you're not going anywhere.
That's all right. Detective Cordero is talking to your wife right now. I talked to her a little bit. So I've kind of got a timeline of where you were and where you weren't today. We all know what happened, okay?
So pause it real quick.
My thing is I'm trying.
So I feel like the move here is first, read the rights. Second, try to establish where he was. Try to start the timeline in a nice way. Then push on him you were a cop. How come you're making this hard? You're a cop. You know how this works. Just let me clear you. And then he starts to get agitated. Now he comes back with another angle that he's trying to push. But like 3 times now he's said, at least, and there's more if you watch the full interrogation, he keeps saying, I'm going to be silent. I don't want to talk. I'm invoking my right to be silent. Yeah. So I feel like a lawyer would have a field day with someone who has repeated this multiple times. Even if he confesses now, he's already said multiple times, I don't want to talk to you about this. And they still sort of like keep coming back. And I think
I'd have left it. I mean, the first one, you know, he's like, I think I'm just going to be silent here. He's kind of like, I don't know. I would have gotten up. Like I said, if it were me, I would have gotten up and walked out. Definitely after the second time, no way. After he's like, I'm staying silent, I'd be like, all right, well, that's your right. You've got enough evidence.
Exactly. Keep going.
I get your side of the story. Okay. I don't want.
This is we already know what happened. We just want you to tell us.
Word this delicately. I'm not trying to get you in any trouble. I'm not trying to get her in any trouble. Okay? You've got a little daughter, she's 16, who needs her parents. Okay? I know what was said at dinner time. I know everything. Okay? I need your side of the story. Okay? I don't know if you've had a problem with this guy for a while, and this was an accident, or you maliciously chased him down, or what happened. But if I don't get your side of the story, I won't ever know. Okay? You know I know. I wouldn't be talking to you right now. I wouldn't be talking to them right now.
Kind of shouldn't be talking to him anyway.
So I want to give you the opportunity to tell me what led up to what happened today. And if I came across as being rude or upset or whatever earlier, I'm sorry. That's not what I'm trying to do.
You're fine.
I'm just trying to gather
facts. I'm not sure what happened or what's going on.
Okay.
But I just have to invoke my right.
Okay. So you're telling me.
So fast forward a little bit before he leaves the room. I don't know if no, just click forward toward the end. The clip when he leaves the room.
Do whatever,
Right
but if I don't collect all the pieces that I need, I can't get your side of the story, and that's the issue that I have. And I don't know what's holding you up. I don't know what's holding you up from telling me your side of the story. Do you just don't want to tell me your side of the story?
I'm just silent.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, dude.
Again,
get out of there. It's so bad.
Get out of there, man.
You can't do it, dude. You can't do it as much as you want to.
But this detective doesn't give up. If we can go to clip 6.
Doesn't matter if he doesn't give up. I'm pretty sure right now that like whatever confession he gives you is going to be no good in court. You're wasting your time.
Do you want to skip 5?
Yeah, just skip 5 and go right to 6.
Your wife's about to leave. She wanted to give you a hug before she left. Are you good with that?
No.
I told her that it was fine. I don't have any problems with it. Just, come on. I'm sorry. I was just,
This guy's the most awkward hugger ever, by the way. Look how he hugs his daughter.
Oh, yeah. If you give him more than 3 pats, it's just a friendly pat.
Thank you.
So weird. So weird. But again, so he's tried being his buddy.
Somebody, so
He's tried, hey, we're both cops here. You know, help me, help you. We've tried the tough guy angle. Like, we already know what's happened. We just need you to tell us. We don't understand why you won't tell us you're part of the story. We just want to get you out of here. And now he's bringing in this is the trump card. This detective has now escalated to the best of his game, which is maybe if I bring in his wife and daughter and he sees them, this will crack him emotionally and he'll at least confess for their sake so that they can move on with life. You know, I think that's like the direction this detective thinks he's going. But they're not done yet. Now we're going to tag team. We're going to swap out and we're going to move over to Deputy Cordero. And
well, what? Pause it really quick. Another, I mean, not that I would have already have ended this interrogation a long time ago if it were me. If you've got another detective in the room and they pipe up, that is not the time to interrupt them. You're not on a podcast. That's real life. If she's got something to say, you let her fucking say it. You know what I mean? Like, she's obviously opening her mouth because she has an important, like, she knows, she's trained, she's a detective. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's not like if a producer or something chimes in, we all just kind of like look over, you know, and then like interrupt them if it's not going the way we want it to go, or it's not going the direction we want it to go. Like, that's one thing. But this is like a real murder trial, and she's a real trained detective. You don't walk over her.
Yeah.
I thought that was very poor form.
Yeah. When she finally does speak up, he steps right in and asserts himself in there, which who knows,
which
I'm
makes
not
it
sure their
personal.
experience,
I
but-
want to be the one that solves this.
Yeah.
I want to be the guy.
I just thought it was so awkward. Like, if I get it. He's under a lot of stress. He could be in some type of shock still from taking a human life. And I've never had to take a human life, but I don't know how I would react. But so whatever his reaction is, I would hug my daughter or daughters or sons. I would, if I got a chance to see my kid in that room or my wife in that room, like, the hugs wouldn't be like, okay, yep, love you too, with these little weird pats on the back. It's just so freaking weird to me.
Look, he's gotten away with a lot, dude. He's gotten away with a lot. He's done a lot of bad things, and he's gotten away with it every time. He became chief. He was constable, and he became chief, and he's never changed. He's very narcissistic. He rules the room. He's big. He's tall. He's always in control, and he thinks he's in control right now. And he's like, I'm not talking. I'm silent. You don't have anything on me. Like, he's got all the confidence in the world. He's giving the little pat. I'll see you in a few minutes, man. This is nothing. He's just trying to posture. In his brain, he believes he's free.
Yeah, he believes he's going to go home that night.
He does.
That's crazy.
That's what he
All
thinks.
right, let's keep going with Deputy Cordero.
How are you doing?
All right. Get ready to.
Oh, his tone of voice changed.
On that desk, but it looks awful hard.
Yeah, I don't know if you'll be any more comfortable out there than what you are now.
No,
Can I get you anything else?
no, that's good. Thank you.
Okay.
She got him some water.
All right.
Let him go to the bathroom too.
Well, can you help me understand how we got to this point?
I don't know.
I don't know. Man, I remember being on patrol and running into you one night. Help me out on a call, back me up.
Oh,
It was way back in, oh gosh, it's been almost 3 years now.
well,
Two,
Yeah, probably
something
so.
like that. Yeah, something like that. But
yeah. You guys are always good to help us, help me too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brad, he was always right there, man.
oh, absolutely.
Oh.
I worked on his shift, so
Oh yeah.
you know, he always had my back. But I just don't understand how we got to this point.
Yeah, me neither.
Well, I'm here to listen. If you're willing to talk, tell
I'm
me.
just ready to go to bed.
This time,
Okay. Good job on the cuts.
This time he went. This time the detective went to Goodwill and picked up a similar shirt to get on the same playing field as our guy.
Okay, I did.
All right.
Again, like, you know, and being that I was a beat cop in a very, very active place, and the way Raleigh Police Department worked was it was your case to solve, and when you couldn't solve it, you gave it to detectives, or when you didn't have time to solve it. And so we did most of the interviews, at least the initial interviews, ourselves. Go down to the detective station, check in with the detective. He'd be like, "What you got?" Might give you a couple of pointers. I'd say, "Hey, try this real quick, bud. Try this real fast." Blah blah blah. You go in there, you take a break, you go out, and be like, "You having any luck?" And they're like, "Actually, yeah, he's gonna give a signed confession. So, like, what do we do here?" He's like, "We'll get a witness in there with you." Blah blah blah. You know, they were there to like guide you. So, when you're interviewing somebody, you're having a conversation with them. She's very robotic. Like, this is the problem with going to too many PowerPoint classes. So she builds rapport, which is great.
Yeah, his
And then she's
demeanor
like,
changes entirely when it's just her in the room.
I'm just here. You tell me, what's the rush? What is the rush? Keep those conversations going. Did you like being a police officer? What was it like being how many calls did you get when you were in that area of town?
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
that's
you're hitting the nail on the head, because she is going to go for like hours now. And and keep him talking. So it's just
but I feel like it's doesn't matter because he's already like invoked Miranda. So I don't think any of this is good.
Yeah, none of this. How many times we've heard it on the show, and believe me, if you watch the full interrogation, he says it 2 or 3 times as many times as we've heard it. I'm just going to be silent. I'm going to invoke my rights. And
yeah, so like this
going.
this is over.
Since you read those rights, I have to stay. I have to do the right.
Well, what's the difference?
You know the difference.
Yeah, what's the difference between
You know
knowing
the
what the paper says and telling, especially if it clears you out of everything. I mean,
Well, yeah, I see.
the way I look at it is,
Oh, good.
regardless if something happened or not, and if it did, if it was an accident, tell me. Like, let me help me help you. Like, I want to know what I can do or what happened today to be able to explain it later.
I don't know what happened today. I just need to.
People are going to have questions.
Mm-hmm.
Your family.
Well, I have questions.
Well, exactly.
So
why can't we figure this out together?
Well, we can, but I've been left in the dark on everything since.
Well, the thing is, I can't. There's certain things, but there's certain things I can tell you and I can't tell you.
Okay.
But when you start to tell me what you did today, it starts to clear up things. Once you start telling me, I can start telling you. That's how it works. Let me help you.
Well,
You have to help me first.
Thank
So
you
I
for
can.
trying to help me.
Yeah, of course. So I can figure out what happened and what you were doing today. I mean, I've already talked to your wife. I've already talked to your daughter, who's really sweet, by the way.
Thank you.
She's a really good kid.
Yeah.
So the only step left is to talk to each other and figure out, come get down to the bottom of it. What happened today?
Okay.
Why was today any different than every other day?
So hit stop, pause really fast. I don't remember exactly how Miranda works with silence. I know that if they ask for a lawyer, you're done.
Right.
If they invoke silence, for me, I would have been like, yeah, okay, I'm out. Right. Especially what evidence I have. Now, I know that you can revisit questioning without counsel. You can try again.
Yeah.
So switching the roles there, like that's what I said at the beginning, knowing with what I think I know. At the beginning, his kind of like, I want to be silent. I don't really know. Like, I think that's the time you just kind of get out, back over. I don't mind if you revisit that one more time in a different approach other than silence. Like, I would have just given the shot of like, hey, where were you at this morning? Can you answer me that real quick? Because then you've kind of started the game over. But then he invokes silence again. And then you press him for like 10 minutes, which is not okay in my opinion. Yeah. Then he leaves. Now you bring in the girl in. He hasn't really invoked his silence on her. So she can probably have another go at it with this whole conversation thing. But then he invokes silence on her again. And they don't leave. She keeps pressing on. I just think that is too much for a jury. I don't know what the law is exactly on that. I know, being that I was not a detective, once they invoke that silence, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go talk to a detective that knows, like a supervisor. Well, our detectives would have known because it's a big city and they deal with this shit all the fucking time.
Yeah.
But as I see it now, anytime they say I invoke the silence, you should get up and walk away.
Yeah. I think when they say that, you're like at the fence, right? And then if they say, I want a lawyer, then you've opened the gate and you have to walk out. But you're at the fence when they say, I want to be silenced. Like, you're almost done. Like, you can try to revisit it, but you are pushing a line. And I think if you keep pushing it so many times, I don't even know that the confession you'd get is going to be admissible, because
that's what I'm saying.
You so many times, I want to be silent.
Well, I'm not a cop and I am not a detective and I have no experience. My question is, he's still talking though. Like, after he says,
that's
but the argument to be made,
and that's a great argument. And if you were an astute, or if you were a very good detective, once he invoked that silence on that first go at it, you would have left that room, and then you would have you could come back, because he hasn't invoked his silence when you come back. You've given enough time to let him think about it. And if you come in with just a question before he says anything about silence and get him to start talking, now you're good. But if he invokes that silence and you keep going, that's where the jury's going to have a hard time going with this. I think a good detective move was when she came in, because he has not invoked his right to silence to her. And then she did get him on a conversation. And if she was a good, really good detective, she could have kept that conversation going for a while or as long as she could. But anytime somebody invokes their right to Miranda or their right to silence, I think you have to be done for at least a little bit. You got to take a break on it.
Yeah.
Because
she's able to dive in here. Let's see how she does this.
Okay.
So, you want to talk about it?
Well, when I'm looking over there,
I know what you're
looking at the
thinking.
paper.
I know. And you know what it says, and I'm not here to trip you up. I mean, I'm just being straightforward with you. I just want to start from the beginning of your day and work our way down.
Okay.
Fill in all the spots for me so I can understand. We can start from the very beginning.
And this is where she's stuck on the PowerPoint.
I know you probably slept in because you work nights. I work nights.
And pause it really quick. Not to beat a dead horse, I'll make it really fast. But that's like where we talk about getting stuck on the PowerPoint. The PowerPoint says you have to get the time frame. You have to get it. Okay, that's fine, but you don't have to get it right now. You can get that time frame. Just wait a minute. I mean, she is stuck on this whole PowerPoint. I can't have any other conversation with this guy. I must get a timeline, and I must get it right now. That's just not.
Yeah, you could have worked an angle. I feel like there was an opportunity here because when she walked in the room and he kind of like, you called it right away. Oh, his demeanor changed, right? When it's just her walking in, he's like a completely different dude. Not a completely different dude.
Oh, he's completely different. His tone, his voice,
his tone is different. Changes. And so you notice how his hands are on his knees open. I think that's like his posture of control, like how he's sort of like composing himself and he's keeping it that way. And then when she starts to push him, his fists ball up a little bit. I know some people notice that in the chat too. Like his posture changes right before he's going to say, no, I'm just going to keep my rights. I'm going to do that. He has to move when she starts pushing on him. But where he relaxes when she said something about, oh, I talked to your wife. I talked to your daughter too. She's a really nice girl. He's like, yeah. He talks about daughter. Do you guys do daddy-daughter stuff? You know, like on your days off, like today, or when you sleep in for work, you know, she could have taken that angle. He gave her some openings and she kind of missed it, but then she's trying to catch herself back up, which I think she does a decent job. All things being equal, where I don't think this conversation should have continued. But she did keep looking for angles and eventually finds one. But go ahead.
Almost 4 years. I understand how that sleep schedule is.
Yeah, sleep's all
so
messed up.
You could, absolutely. It doesn't matter if you switch to day shift schedule. Your sleep's still going to be messed up for a while. I still fight it every once in a while. Did you sleep in today?
She found her angle on work schedules.
I bet you did. You could have got to work tonight, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. What time did you get up?
Oh boy. I don't even know. Probably around noonish.
Around noon. That's usually what time I got up too. I'd sleep in as long as I could. Around noon. Did you get anything done today?
That's so scripted.
Did you watch anything good on TV? Usually that's what I do. I'd eat and watch TV. I'll woke myself up a little bit. Anything good?
Same old stuff.
Oh yeah?
On TV.
You watch the same episodes? Or like, do you have a specific TV show you would wake up and watch?
Well, we watched, my wife always has it on I can't remember what channel it's called, but right now TV Land.
Oh, okay. What shows play on that, like Andy Griffith and stuff like that? Yeah?
I think they've been playing a lot of MASH.
So she finds her angle, and I'm going to spare you it goes on for like over an hour, right? She comes in and out, lets him go to the bathroom, gets more water, and she keeps him talking. Like now she's in, and he frames in his whole day for her. and ends up like saying he got up at noon. He went out to feed chickens. She talks to him about chickens forever, and then grass seed. Oh, do you have a spreader? Were you doing it by hand? And she's getting him to do whatever. And then she tries really hard. She starts pushing on him about, well, did you change your clothes before you went to dinner? Did they know they were going out to dinner? And then he kind of starts clamming up. And so let's just jump to that final clip.
He's like, I've gone too far.
Yeah, he realizes eventually this is where it's at.
I like you. I like this fella that was a detective here. And I know y'all don't care about any of that and stuff. And I just don't know how to I haven't had this happen before. Being brought in and interrogated for something. So I know you don't care, but I just don't know how to be silent.
I think.
So sitting over here looking like a jerk.
No, you're not. That honestly, you were far from that.
No, you're not
very
a jerk.
polite.
You're beautiful.
Well, I'm just gonna
Look at our shirts. We're twins. Come on now.
rest my eyes, and
Just tell me who you killed.
Don't you know why you're here?
I appreciate you guys, and I'm just gonna.
I don't know what's wrong at the point of just saying why he's there. Like, fucking, somebody's dead, and it looks like you killed him.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's the evidence we
I
have.
appreciate you being polite.
Did you kill him or
It's
not?
kind of a nice alternative.
I want to
to
tell you.
what I've dealt with
Perfect.
before.
Night's over. Everybody goes to bed.
Yeah, it's like 2:50 in the morning right now.
Dude, that's way too long. When do they pick him up?
After dinner.
Oh, well, I guess not too late.
I think earlier it said it was like 8 or 9 something.
Yeah.
Very beginning.
Do you want to talk to
Yeah, that's
me?
not bad.
Can I get a lawyer?
Oh,
there it is. Get the fuck out.
Listen to her response.
Yeah. What I do want you to know is if you change your mind, you know my name, you can always ask for me. Okay? But you have to be the one to reestablish that. Okay? Alright. Can you stand up for me?
Yeah, 2:50 in the morning.
Alright, go ahead and turn around, put your hands behind your back. Being placed under arrest for capital murder.
All right, so I don't know how it would worked for you, but for us, even if someone had first of all, we would have never gone this far, because if they would have kept saying, "I want to be silent," we wouldn't have pushed, because we wouldn't have wanted to ruin it, especially knowing the evidence we already had on the outside of the room, and what we were working on. Then we already had the statements from the wife and the witness, and everything's there enough to charge this dude. And they work on him for hours to get a confession.
But that's the problem with training
pointless.
on PowerPoint. That's the problem with everything has to be checked the block. So all of the training has moved to PowerPoint, and you have to hit every slide of these PowerPoints in order for the training to be a legit training. So, and then they I guess a pixel track it or something, but I don't know in your academy, but they would say they could tell we physically have to hit every one of these PowerPoint slides. So you do the whole PowerPoint slide, which gives you no room for practical exercises, when this is all practical exercise. Like, that's how you learn to be a good interviewer. Go out and interview people.
Yeah.
That's how that works. Just doing a PowerPoint, she was literally, both of these detectives were trying desperately to stick to what they read on the same PowerPoint that you read and the same one that I read. And they had no experience and no skill. And that they don't need to have a confession right now. They don't have to have it. Time is on their side with that much evidence, but whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, then even if they would have called me back, once they say they want a lawyer, I mean, if we were sitting in a gray zone with I want to be silent, I'm going to invoke my rights. If we were in a gray zone there, when he said, I want a lawyer, we're definitely black and white territory there. That's it. It is over. And even if someone had said, I want a lawyer, and then while they're calling their lawyer and the lawyer's in the car on the way over, driving in his Saab, on his brick cell phone from 1980 something, in a slick suit with greasy hair. Even if that lawyer is on his way, if that guy calls me back into the room and says, I know I said I want a lawyer, but I want to talk now, I would be like, I mean, you can say whatever you want. The room is being recorded. I'm not asking you any questions whatsoever.
Yeah,
like,
we're done.
You can, if you feel like you want to say something out loud, this room is being recorded. Like I said before, I'm not asking you a single thing.
But if you weren't going on that whole PowerPoint perspective of this, you would have just sat him down when you weren't getting anywhere, and you would have said, hey, listen, there was a murder today on such and such road. There's a witness that put you there, and there's blood splatter on your car. And, that's what you're facing. You're about to go to jail for murder. And unless you got something that changes my mind, at the end of this interview, you're going to prison. You're going to be under arrest for the murder of blank. You don't have to give that person's name, but I would just go ahead and spill those beans. He's asked for it 1,000 times. You're not getting anywhere else. And either lawyers up right then and there, good to go, or he backs off and says, well, I mean, why do you guys think I'm doing it? Well, I've got evidence that says you do it, and you're not giving me anything else. So what do you have that says you didn't?
Do you get a sense that they knew they had him, but they just used this for practice?
I get a sense that they felt that they had to, by PowerPoint, they had to go through the numbers, and they're just going based on what they saw in those slides. And those slides are, you have to establish a timeline, and they never left that. They never, ever left, I need to get a timeline.
Yeah.
Because they fell asleep 15 minutes into the PowerPoint and missed the whole rest of it. It says none of that shit matters.
All right. So the story's not over. So hang with us here, because the twist that I was telling you is going to pop up here in a second. He goes to jail, and instead of going through a trial, he pleads guilty, and he takes a plea deal to murder one instead of capital murder, which the difference would be in capital murder, you're going to get the death penalty as a possible sentence. And in murder one, it would be life without the eligibility of parole. So it's basically the punishment that would differ there on the capital murder charge that she said he was arrested for, and murder one that he pleads to. He gets sentenced to 30 years for murder, which is beyond me. Like, you murdered a man in cold blood and you get 30 years, and eligible for parole in 21, which is just mind blowing to me that you can,
like 3 years.
You literally can pull over on the side of the road, shoot someone in the face, lie about it, and only serve 21 years in prison. Like, that's mind-blowing to me. I can't understand it. But what happens is, when he goes into the prison system, is he's a felon now, and they swab him for DNA. And as soon as that DNA hits the system, a chief in Rogers Police Department in the area, a little podunk PD, Chief Hayes Minor gets a call from one of his detectives and says, we got him. And he's like, what do you mean we got him? The rapist of Amy Harrison, one of their cops' wives. So get this.
What?
Yep. Listen to this 911 call from 1997.
Oh my gosh.
This is Amy Harrison. I was just molested at my school. Okay. Harrison, what happened? I went to the bathroom in the lounge, and when I opened the door, a guy was standing there with a gun. Okay. He was wearing a cap, a blue cap with black sunglasses.
So, 1997, Amy Harrison is a police officer's wife and a teacher. She decides on a Sunday morning to go in early at 9 a.m. on her off day to catch up on lesson planning, grades, that kind of stuff. She walks in. There's over 200 people there at the school because there was a church that was in between buildings meeting in the school, like cafeteria, auditorium, or something like that. So there's a bunch of people there. She walks to her classroom. She's there for about an hour, needs to use the restroom, goes to the teacher's lounge, and she gets to the lounge, goes to the bathroom. As soon as she opens the door from the lounge back into the school hallway, there stands a man. You can put the composite sketch up that they gave her, with a hat on, glasses, and he's wearing no socks. That stood out to her as well. Gun in her face. And he says, don't scream. Look away from me. And he grabs her and he drags her to the special ed room of this elementary school. He pulls her underwear off and rapes her. And before he leaves, he asks her a weird question. Now, she will say, this guy carried himself like a cop. My husband's a cop. He acted like a cop. And this was in 1997, so he was definitely a police officer at the time. And he asked me this weird question. Do you recognize my voice? That's because everyone knew him around the area. And he didn't wear shoes so that he didn't leave footprints. And rapes Amy Harrison. And he takes off. Witnesses said they saw a blue truck leaving the area. She gives this sketch. And in Rogers, this is literally the biggest crime they have ever investigated. So they're under-equipped in the middle of nowhere to deal with a major rape case. They want to catch the guy because it's their co-worker's wife. So they're pulling out all the stops. So they chase down this truck lead. They find a guy of a blue truck that may have been in the area. His story's rock solid. He's completely cooperative. They realize he doesn't match the sketch at all. This guy has nothing to do with it. But as they start interviewing all the staff members of school, they say, well, there is this custodian that we've seen him not wearing socks before, and he's a weird dude. And so they interview him. They bring his information to Amy. She rules him out. Like, no, that's not his face. That's not his voice. I know that guy. It was 100% not him. So they hit a complete dead end except for one thing. They ask her, was there any bodily fluids left at the, like, did he ejaculate? You know, was there anything? Did he spit on you? Did he lick you? Anything? Did he leave any articles of clothing? Well, she says, well, I had this scarf and he stole my underwear. And she wiped herself clean with this scarf and she still had it. So she turns it over to the police. They save it in evidence. Well, in Arkansas, the statute of limitations on rape, which this is also mind-blowing as well, is 6 years. What? So 5 years and change comes up. They're coming up on the 6-year statute of limitations, and kudos to Detective Minor, who will eventually become Chief Minor. Kudos to this detective who doesn't have any leads, completely cold. He convinces a judge in Arkansas to issue an arrest warrant for the person, for John Doe, the person that this DNA belongs to.
Oh, very good.
They swab the DNA. They put it into CODIS. So now it will be, there's no matches, no DNA matches, but everybody that goes into the system, when they get entered into CODIS, it runs their DNA against any open crimes. So he's like, the statute is up. If we don't get this arrest warrant, Your Honor, this guy will go free if he's ever caught, and he will reoffend, because the brazen nature of the crime was like, this guy had so much balls to do this. There was 200 people at church, and he pulls a gun and is in the middle of the morning pulling someone into a classroom with open windows, raping her. Like, this is brazen. He's going to do it again. So we need this arrest warrant on DNA, which was one of the first of its kind in Arkansas. So just kudos to Detective Minor for thinking ahead of the curve on this, only to find out 20 years later that it was Chief Grant Hardin, who is a corrections officer who would shoot James Appleton in the face and think he's got it all together in his interrogation, that he owned the room, but he didn't realize his DNA was caught on a scarf from his victim 20 years ago, who he knew.
Golly, what a piece of shit. That's why he hugs his family like that.
Yeah, no kidding. So the detectives take Chief Hardin's mugshot, an image of him with other people, put him in a lineup, of a photo lineup. Without hesitation, she says, that's the man that did that to me.
Wow.
No, not even a moment's went by. Like as soon as they put the photo lineup and said, "Can you identify the man that did this to you?" She pointed to Hardin. That's him.
Yes. Good.
And so dead to rights. Then
wow.
So he's serving this 30-year sentence. He pleads guilty to 2 different counts of rape. He gets 25 years each case, so 50 years. But get this, what the judge does. He lets that sentence run concurrent to his other one. So this piece of shit only has to serve 7 out of each 25-year sentence to be eligible for parole. So a total of 14 years after his 21 years on the first murder charge. So literally over a period of, 35 years is all he has to serve, and he's eligible for parole. Now, he was 50 when he was originally convicted, so he'll be 85 years old.
Right.
But still, you can literally hide a brazen rape for 20 years. You can be a cop who's been fired, who's been shown to be corrupt, who then somehow manages to get a chief of police gig, who then shoots a man in the face in broad daylight and never even gives an explanation for it. And he can be out in 34 years? Like, that's just nuts.
Judges are nuts, man. I mean, yeah, and then Chauvin gets 22 years with no shot of parole.
It's just mind-blowing to me. Now, remember we talked about what would it be like to be married to a murderer and not know it? His wife is delusional, Linda.
Oh,
she
really?
maintains his innocence. I'll give you a clip of how she views her husband. Listen to this.
Ooh.
I just wanted him to walk out the door with me, and he couldn't. And to see him in chains on his arms and his feet. I feel like that's what people felt when Jesus was being crucified.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, dude.
Somebody
So
needs to
you're
run
like,
her DNA.
How did a guy get away with hiding that kind of behavior? Do you think he only raped one person in 1997? Come on now. And then just went dormant until he killed a man in 2017? Or do you think there's a whole lot more people that are victims of his that just don't know it's him?
Somebody made a good point. This guy is a rapist. He's a murderer. He's a cop. Nah, I agree with you, dude. I agree with you.
Yeah.
That dude gets a unmarked grave somewhere. I hope he gets fucking shanked in prison, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I think, sorry, I made me wonder listening to the Dennis Perkins case as well, thinking about this, that if she thinks of him in that light, dude, I bet you they've done shit together. That makes me
or she's a victim.
I feel like she's just an idiot. I feel like
she's just an idiot.
I feel like she was chosen by him because of how stupid she is. Like, I think the wool is just completely over her eyes. But to view your husband getting arrested for murder, and he literally she said she was so confused. At first, he's like, I'm just going to take the plea deal. I don't want to fight the murder charge. They say they have the blood on the car. I don't want to fight this. I'm being railroaded. He basically convinces her that he's being framed for the murder. And that's one aspect. But when it came to when the detectives showed up again to search their house for any evidence of the underwear that he had, did he hide any trophies, or was there's more to this? They didn't find anything at the house, but they tell her, yeah, he admitted to it. He pled guilty to raping her. Right. And she's like, that's impossible. She's just in complete denial. And even at the sentencing, when she read her victim impact statement and all that stuff to him, he said that he was sorry. He apologized. And she still is in denial. Like, I don't know what to believe now, because I wanted to hear him say he didn't do it. But I think she thinks he just wants to take these plea deals to make sure that he can get home to her sooner than if he fought it and lost or whatever. Just nuts. But we talked about on one of the last breakdowns, what would it be like to be married to a murderer or not know it? And I mean, this is one example of that, and a cop nonetheless.
I can't believe that. Man, I can't. I was thinking at the beginning of this, it's like somebody that has that kind of a colored past where they're repeat offenders and getting fired and they do nothing wrong. I was thinking, like, you don't just go from 0 to shooting somebody in the face.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
you have to build up to that. So yeah, man, that's the interrogation and the crazy twist of the Chief Grant Hardin case. And hopefully you guys learned something from us watching that and breaking it down a little bit.
Yeah, it was a good case, man. What a turn of events. Thick humidog. I don't know what that means. Thick humidog. What is humidog? Anyway, he had a question earlier on. I said we would answer it. That did the tetherball let us go because we didn't have good numbers? No, that is not it. We have really great numbers. The show is growing every single day. I think we're up like 115% or something crazy like that.
Yeah, the last 90 days we've more than doubled our listens, and that's not including YouTube. So we're growing.
No, man, this is weird times to be a police related podcast. And I can just say that it's hard to get advertisers for a podcast that is pro police. It's hard when you do episodes like that we do. And that's pretty much all we can say. I mean, we didn't see it coming. There's no bad blood there. It's just that the year contract came up and they said, look, man, it's a lot for us. And we want to go a different route. And you guys are more than welcome to keep doing the show. We're just not going to do it on our network. We got, I mean, that's pretty much the way it went. So everybody was nice and friendly about it. I still watch Drinking Bros shows. So just at the end of the day, they had signed a 1-year contract with us and that 1 year is up and they didn't want to continue. That's the best I got.
Yeah. So here we go.
Hey,
here we go.
Can I give an explanation about Humidog?
Yeah. What is Humidog?
So Humidog is back in the OG Drinking Bros days was a Jared Taylor invention that was a dog that would turn into a human.
Oh, a humidog
for sexual needs.
Oh my
humidog.
Oh my god!
So it was a big deal back in the day. The humidog, which was kind of along the same time. Back, like maybe make a Drinking Bros shirt that says. Never mind. Anyway, but like he'd also come up with he wanted to start a restaurant in Las Vegas called Handy's and Sandy's. He's like, I mean, what best way for a woman to serve a man is make him a sandwich and give him a handy.
Oh my god!
And Sandy's.
Oh my god!
JT, he's something else. Never know what you're gonna get. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But listen. At the end of the day, guys, like it's fine. I don't want anybody to I don't want the children. I don't want the children to be upset. This is going to be better for everybody. We're all going to have a lot more fun now. I'm just kidding. But we do have got a big change coming Tuesday night. Possibly not really a big change. It's just our Tuesday night shifts is definitely going to be more true crime, kind of the way it was. But we're going to bring in another element to kind of surprise you guys to keep that show going. And then that puts us with Disruptors absolutely crushing it right now. That puts our Tuesday night absolutely crushing right now. Our Fridays never stopped crushing. And then we've got our Monday and Thursday news breakdowns, which are always steady and consistent. So as a channel, we're having a great time. The numbers are going up. And look, Mike's in for another year with me. So that tells you something because Mike's not going to.
I signed a 30-day contract to still do the show with you. I sent it over. You didn't get it? You need to have your lawyers review that.
I'm going to remain silent.
There's a few tiny fine print things going on.
I want to invoke my silence.
Well, there you have it, guys. Hopefully another breakdown that kept you interested for the show. We thank you for listening. And, man, another full schedule coming out next week. So be sure to catch up. And if you like it, tell a friend. Spread the word. Wolfpack.